Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life, a moment when the road gets too long, the night too dark, the weight too heavy, and you whisper to yourself, I can't go any further, I've done all I can, but oh, dear heart, listen to me now. That moment when you feel like giving up is the very place where your future begins. Don't you know, you were not created to be broken. You were not designed for defeat. There is purpose in your pain. There is glory behind that curtain of sorrow. Yes, the tears may fall. Yes, the silence may feel endless. Yes, everyone else may walk away, but there is one who has never left your side. He saw your tears before they reached your cheek. He heard your cry before a word left your lips. He held your future, long before you ever saw your past. You say, but I've failed, I've fallen, I'm too weak. And yet that's exactly why you're chosen. Because only the broken can be made whole, only the weary can be carried, only the empty can be filled. You weren't meant to walk by sight. No, you were born to walk by faith. Faith in the one who calls the stars by name, and still knows yours. Faith in the one who split the sea, and still opens doors no man can shut. You may not see the way, but he is the way. You may not understand the plan, but he is the author of the story. And what he begins, he finishes. So stand up, wounded soldier. Wipe your face, tired heart. This is not the end. You are not forgotten. Your future is not in your hands. It's in stronger hands, mighty hands, nail-pierced hands. So when you feel like giving up, remember who holds your future and let that truth be the strength in your weakness, the fire in your bones, the reason you rise. One more time. There comes a moment in every life where the soul begins to tremble, not from fear of what lies ahead, but from the exhaustion of carrying the weight of what has already passed. It's not just about being tired in the body. This is a weariness that sinks into the spirit, the kind of fatigue that makes you question if anything you've done has made a difference at all. That moment, when everything in you says stop, when every voice around you says it's over, when every attempt you've made ends in failure or silence. That moment is sacred. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like abandonment. It feels like emptiness. It feels like darkness so thick you can't breathe. But that's only the appearance. That is not the truth. Because in that exact place, when your knees hit the floor, when the tears refuse to stop, when the dreams begin to blur into regrets, that is where the future is being born. The breaking point is not the end of the road. It is the doorway. That pain is not punishment. It is preparation. When you feel like giving up, when it seems nothing is working, when prayers feel unanswered and the heavens are silent, that is not the moment to quit. That is the moment when your future begins to whisper. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand, it waits, and in that waiting, something sacred is unfolding. The unseen is moving. The eternal is working on your behalf. The seed is beneath the soil. Buried, yes, but not dead. It is unseen, but not forgotten. The process of becoming always feels like breaking before it ever feels like building. That moment where everything looks lost is often the exact second that everything is being put into place. Many never make it past that moment. They give up too soon. They walk away before the morning breaks. But those who remain, those who endure the fire, the silence, the aching disappointment, those are the ones who rise. Not because they are strong, but because they understood something deeper. When you feel like giving up, your future is being shaped. You were never promised a path without struggle, but you were promised that your struggle would never be wasted. You were never promised that you would always see the way, but you were promised that there is a way, even when you cannot see it. And that promise alone is enough to keep breathing when the air feels thin, to keep walking when your legs tremble beneath you. It is in that sacred, hidden moment, when everything says this is the end, that something eternal is whispering, this is only the beginning. The battle you're in is not just about what's around you, it's about what's within you. The real war is not the circumstances, the closed doors, or the delays. It's the fight for your belief that what's ahead is still worth reaching for. What you don't see yet is the beauty being shaped behind the curtain. What you haven't heard yet is the song that will come from this silence. What you don't realize yet is that this very pain is the womb of your purpose. And every tear that falls, every breath you force yourself to take, every time you choose not to quit, those are the bricks that build the bridge into your destiny. You are standing at the threshold even now. There is something sacred about pain that we often fail to recognize while we're walking through it. We treat it like an enemy, something to escape from, something to silence or ignore. But pain, when seen through the eyes of purpose, becomes a doorway. It becomes a guide. It becomes a teacher that cannot be replaced, no matter how many books you read or sermons you hear, because the kind of pain that reaches your soul also reveals the strength you never knew was there. It shows you the depth of your own spirit, the power of what you carry inside you, and the truth that defeat is not your portion. You were not created to collapse under pressure. You were not formed from the dust just to be buried by the weight of this world. There is resilience in your very design. You are woven with intention, with strength that surpasses your own understanding. When life hits you harder than you expected, it's not a sign that you are broken beyond repair, it's a signal that you're being refined. The fire doesn't come to consume you, it comes to reveal you. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every season of confusion is a thread in the larger tapestry of your purpose. It's not random, it's not punishment. The pain you carry is not a mark of failure. It's a sign that something greater is being built through you. Even when your arms are trembling and your soul feels fragile, you are still being carried by a strength not your own. Even when you feel invisible, even when the silence seems deafening, your pain is known. There is purpose in the waiting. There is purpose in the loneliness. There is purpose even in the unanswered questions. You are not created for defeat. You are created to rise, even from the ashes. And sometimes it is only through the pain that you learn how to fly. There are victories that cannot be reached without first walking through valleys that threaten to break you. There are doors that won't open until you've first endured the crushing that teaches you to walk with humility, with gratitude, with a deeper kind of wisdom. So many people run from their pain, thinking that if they can just avoid it, they can live free. But true freedom doesn't come from running. It comes from facing it head on and finding out that it doesn't define you. What happened to you isn't the end of your story. It's a chapter, a heavy one, yes. A dark one, maybe, but it's not the final word. The pain is shaping you, molding you, chiseling away everything that doesn't belong so that what remains is pure, true, and powerful. Pain exposes your weakness, yes, but it also awakens your courage. It tests your faith, but it also grows it. It brings you to your knees, but it also teaches you how to stand again, not in your own strength, but in something far greater. You are not created for defeat. And if you're still here, it means purpose is still alive in you. It means something is still being written. Something is still coming. The presence of pain is not the absence of purpose. Sometimes it is the evidence of it. There is a silence that falls so heavy, it almost echoes. It's not the quiet of peace, it's not the stillness of rest, it's the kind of silence that feels like absence, the kind that makes you question whether your prayers have hit the ceiling and fallen back down. It's the kind that leaves you waiting with no explanation, wondering if what you believed was ever real to begin with. That silence can feel like abandonment. It can feel like the closing of a door, the end of something sacred. But it is not abandonment. It is preparation. The most profound shifts in life don't always happen in the noise. They often happen in the stillness, in the spaces where nothing seems to move, and yet everything is being rearranged behind the scenes. Silence is not a void. It is a cocoon. It is where the wings are being formed. It is where the roots are growing deeper. You just can't see them yet, because transformation rarely happens on the surface. It happens in the dark, in the quiet, in the places no one applauds. You ask, why can't I hear anything? Why does it feel like I've been forgotten? But what if the silence isn't a punishment? It's an invitation. An invitation to trust deeper, to believe without the proof, to keep moving without the map. Silence forces you to lean not on what you feel, but on what you know deep within your spirit, that even when you cannot hear, you are still being guided. Even when the answer doesn't come, the plan is still unfolding. Preparation often looks like delay, but it isn't delay, it's alignment. It's timing. You may be ready in your heart, but the stage is still being set. You may be ready to run, but the road ahead is being cleared, and if you rush the process, you may find yourself walking into something too soon, too fragile, too unprepared. The silence is mercy. The silence is strategy. It may not feel like it now, but there will come a time when you'll look back and realize that the quiet seasons were the most sacred. That silence is not just something happening around you. It's doing something within you. It's building endurance. It's sharpening discernment. It's stretching your capacity to hear whispers instead of needing shouts. It's training your spirit to sense direction, not just seek instruction. There are places you will be called to where you cannot depend on constant affirmation. You'll need to carry peace in your spirit even when the outside world is still. And so this silence, it is not the end. It is the middle, the deep middle where the unseen work is taking place, where your spirit is growing in ways no one else can see, where character is formed, where motives are refined, where faith stops being a word and becomes your breath. This kind of preparation does not shout its presence. It does not arrive with fanfare, but it is real and it is necessary. Even when your hands are empty, something is being placed within them. Even when your path is hidden, your steps are still ordered. Even when the heavens feel closed, the heart of heaven is still near. The silence is not the absence of movement. It is the waiting room of transformation. There is a misunderstanding that strength is what qualifies us, that perfection is the measure of being called, that only the flawless are worthy of something great. But time and again, the ones who are chosen are not those who seem powerful. They are the ones who know the weight of their own weakness. It is the trembling hands that are entrusted with the most sacred assignments. It is the stuttering voice, the broken heart, the weary soul that heaven uses to carry the message of hope. You were not chosen in spite of your weakness. You were chosen because of it. The world tells you to hide your flaws, to cover the cracks, to present yourself as whole and unshakable. But the truth is that it's the cracks that let the light in. It's the weakness that makes room for something greater to move through you. If you were strong on your own, you'd have no need for grace, no room for the miraculous. But because you are aware of your own limits, you have become a vessel through which limitless power can flow. Weakness doesn't disqualify you, it positions you. There is a sacred honesty that comes from brokenness. It's not the kind that begs for attention. It's the kind that draws others closer because they sense something real, something raw, something unhidden. In a world obsessed with performance, there is something undeniably powerful about authenticity. And that's what your weakness offers. It reminds people that they're not alone. It speaks without speaking. It says, if grace carried me, it can carry you too. Sometimes we look at our pain, our past, our limitations and think, surely this disqualifies me from anything meaningful. But what if the opposite is true? What if the very things you believe make you unworthy are the exact reasons you've been called? What if the wounds you carry are not signs of failure, but keys to unlocking someone else's freedom? You are not meant to be a symbol of perfection. You were meant to be a living testimony of redemption. The ones who have walked through the fire and still carry the scent of smoke, they are the ones who carry wisdom the world cannot manufacture. Because they know what it means to be undone and still chosen, to be empty and still poured out, to be unqualified and still trusted. That is not weakness in the way the world defines it. That is sacred strength. Strength that has been tested, strength that has bled, strength that has nothing left to prove. The most powerful voices are not the loudest. They're the ones who have been broken and still speak truth. The most powerful hearts are not the hardest. They're the ones that have been shattered and still choose to love. That kind of power doesn't come from talent or position or applause. It comes from surrender, from saying, I don't have it all together, but I'm still willing. It comes from trusting that even when you feel unworthy, you're exactly where you need to be. So when you feel small, when you feel fragile, when you feel like there's nothing left in you to offer, remember that the greatest miracles have always started in places of weakness. Not because weakness is the goal, but because it is the doorway. It is the soil where humility grows, where dependence is born, where power is perfected not in your strength, but in your surrender. There comes a point in every journey where what you see no longer matches what you believe. The road disappears, the signs fade, the evidence dries up. It's in that moment, when nothing around you makes sense, when logic no longer leads the way, that faith steps in. Faith is not required when everything is visible, when every detail is clear, when every outcome is guaranteed. Faith lives and breathes in the unseen. It begins when sight ends. We often long for certainty, for clear answers and obvious paths. We want to know how and when and why, but faith doesn't operate in the realm of certainty. Faith is trust without explanation. It's confidence without clarity. It's stepping forward without knowing where your foot will land, and that kind of movement requires something far deeper than courage. It requires surrender. The kind of surrender that says, even if I don't see it, I still believe. Sight will tell you it's over. Sight will say there's no way out, no hope left, no light ahead. But faith speaks a different language. Faith says there's a door where the wall stands. Faith says the impossible is only impossible until it isn't. Faith doesn't ask for permission from circumstances. It doesn't wait for evidence to arrive. Faith acts while the miracle is still unseen. It hopes while the storm is still raging. When you walk by sight, you are limited to what is in front of you. When you walk by faith, you tap into what is beyond you. That's where the supernatural lives. That's where breakthrough is born. Not in the safety of predictability, but in the wilderness of the unknown. Faith was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to stretch you, to grow you, to make you depend on something greater than yourself. The beauty of faith is that it's not blind. It sees what the natural eye cannot. It sees potential in dry bones. It sees healing in the sickness. It sees purpose in the chaos. Faith gives you vision that reaches beyond the surface. It anchors you when the winds blow. It steadies you when the path disappears. Faith says, I don't have to understand it all to move forward. I just need to know I'm not walking alone. Sometimes faith looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like bold movement, but it always starts with a decision. to believe in spite of what is missing, to trust in spite of what is broken. It is in those moments when the natural says no, that faith says yes, yes to the promise, yes to the process, yes to the one who holds it all, even when your hands feel empty. Walking by faith doesn't mean the fear disappears. It means the fear no longer controls you. It means you step anyway. You believe anyway. You speak life anyway. You keep walking even when every step feels uncertain, because something inside you knows that what's ahead is greater than what you see right now. You're not walking for proof, you're walking because of a deeper knowing, the kind that's not taught, but planted, watered, and tested through seasons of silence and struggle. Faith begins where sight ends, not because the path is suddenly safe, but because your trust has found a new home. Not in what you can see, but in who is leading you through what you cannot. There is a story being written with your life, one that stretches far beyond what you can see in this moment. You may feel stuck in a chapter that feels long, heavy, and confusing, but that is not the final sentence. The author who began this story is not one who abandons his work. He is meticulous, intentional, and patient. Every chapter, even the painful ones, has a place. Even the ones filled with silence, struggle, and sorrow are part of the narrative that leads somewhere. What feels meaningless now will one day be part of a sentence that unlocks understanding you didn't know you needed. You may feel like the page has been stuck for too long, like nothing is moving, like the pen has been lifted from your life, but that is not true. Even in the pause, the story is still being written. There are moments when the plot slows, when characters fade, when hope seems to dim, but the author knows what he's doing. He knows how to tie every thread together. He knows which details must be included and which delays will lead to greater depth. He doesn't rush his story. He builds it layer by layer with care and precision. When we read stories, we often flip quickly through the hard parts because we already trust that something better is coming. But when you're living it and you're inside that chapter, it's hard to believe the next one is worth the wait. Still, the story isn't over. The author is not finished. He has not set the pen down. Even if the words are not what you expected, even if the pages are filled with detours and disappointments, he's writing something eternal. There's a bigger picture that only the author can see. What feels random to you is part of a deliberate design. What feels like a loss may later prove to be the very thing that opens a door you never imagined. He sees where the story is headed, and he's not shaken by the present tension. In fact, the tension is what makes the resolution powerful. Without it, the breakthrough wouldn't carry the same weight. Without the battle, the victory wouldn't shine as brightly. The hardest chapters are often the ones that prepare you for the most beautiful revelations. You were never meant to understand every detail while it's happening. You were meant to walk it out line by line, moment by moment, trusting that the author knows how to bring every broken sentence into alignment. There are no wasted words, no accidental seasons, no forgotten pages. Even your missteps, even the chapters you wish you could erase, are being redeemed. They're being shaped into something meaningful. When others leave your life and it feels like the story is ending, the author remains. When dreams die and nothing makes sense, the author remains. When the words run dry and your heart feels too tired to hope, the author remains. He does not give up on his creation. He does not walk away from what he started. He is not intimidated by the mess, the confusion, or the waiting. He finishes what he begins, and when he writes a story, every chapter matters, every sentence serves a purpose, every moment carries weight. There is a tension that rises in the space between promise and fulfillment, a frustration that builds when your heart is ready but your reality remains unchanged. You've prayed, you've waited, you've hoped, and still nothing moves. It's easy to call it a delay, to label it as a setback, to wonder if you've missed something or if something is broken. But what you call delay may not be delay at all. It may be timing, divine timing that doesn't operate on your schedule but unfolds with perfect precision. It's hard to trust timing you didn't choose. It's hard to believe in a plan when every day looks the same, when the answers don't come, when the opportunities seem to pass by others while you remain still. But timing in the hands of the divine is never careless. It is never random. It is never late. What feels like nothing happening is often everything being positioned. There are people, places, and purposes being moved into place that you can't see from where you are. Delay teaches you things that immediate answers never could. It refines your faith. It stretches your patience. It exposes your motives. In the waiting, you discover whether you want the gift or the giver, the outcome or the intimacy. The delay is not to punish you. It's to prepare you. There is strength being built in the stillness. There is depth forming beneath the surface. The roots are going deeper even when the branches have yet to bloom. When you plant a seed, you don't panic the next morning because nothing has sprouted. You know it's hidden for a reason. You know there's a process. But when it comes to life, we expect instant results. We pray today and want breakthrough by sunset. And when it doesn't come, we call it delay. But what if the soil of your life is not barren but busy, working behind the scenes to bring about something you're not yet ready to hold? There are doors that haven't opened because what's on the other side would crush you if it came too soon. There are connections that haven't arrived because your character is still being shaped. There are answers that haven't been given because the question wasn't the real issue. It was the condition of your heart. Divine timing is never just about events lining up. It's about hearts aligning, souls maturing, purposes ripening. It's possible to step into something too soon and lose what was meant to last. Divine timing protects you from premature elevation. It shields you from settling for less than what's destined for you. It guards your promise until the conditions are just right, not perfect but purposed, and when it finally comes, you won't have to force it. You won't have to manipulate or strive. It will flow, it will fit, it will confirm everything you knew deep down but struggled to hold on to during the wait. The waiting season is not a waste. It is sacred space. It's the whole way between where you were and where you're going. It's where you decide whether you'll trust what you see or what you believe. Divine timing doesn't cater to impatience, but it never fails to deliver. What you thought was a delay is often a design, and what you thought was a detour is sometimes the only road that leads to destiny. There is a kind of peace that cannot be earned, only received. Peace that comes when you finally realize that your future does not depend on your ability to control everything. It's not about how hard you try, how perfectly you plan, or how flawlessly you execute. There is a limit to your strength, and reaching that limit is not a sign of failure. It is an invitation to release the weight you were never meant to carry. Your future has never been yours to hold alone. It rests in hands far stronger, wiser, and more faithful than your own. You've done all you can to make sense of what's happening. You've tried to fix what was broken, mend what was lost, understand what was unclear. But the future isn't shaped by your efforts alone. There are hands at work that you cannot see, hands that never shake, never grow weary, never make a mistake. Hands that formed the heavens still hold you now. Hands that stretched out in sacrifice still stretch out to guide you through what feels uncertain. When fear rises, it's usually because you've forgotten whose hands you're resting in. You begin to think it's all up to you, that if you misstep, you'll miss everything. But that's not how grace works. That's not how purpose operates. The future that's been prepared for you is not fragile. It's not easily broken by your temporary emotions or misjudgments. The hands that hold your future account for every detour, every delay, every doubt. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is too far gone. Nothing is out of reach. There is power in surrendering the illusion of control. There is strength in saying, I don't have the answers, but I trust the one who does. Because trust doesn't mean you understand every detail. Trust means you're willing to move forward anyway, knowing that you're not alone. The one who holds your future isn't pacing in worry. He's not unsure of what comes next. His grip is steady, his plan is intact, and his love is unwavering. You don't have to predict the future when you're led by the one who wrote it. You don't have to fear the unknown when you're held by the one who knows all. These hands, strong, scarred, sovereign, are capable of carrying what you can't. They've carried nations, healed wounds, restored hearts, and raised what was thought dead. And they are holding your story from beginning to end with care and with purpose. Even when the ground shakes beneath you, those hands never falter. Even when your vision blurs, they never let go. Even when everything you thought was secure begins to shift, you are not falling apart, you are being repositioned. There's comfort in knowing that the weight of your destiny doesn't rest on your shoulders. You don't have to hold everything together when you're being held by the one who does. So let your heart breathe, let your spirit rest. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to have all the strength. Your job is not to carry the future, but to trust the one who already has so now. When you feel like giving up, let these truths settle deep in your spirit. Remember, where your strength ends, a greater strength begins. The fire you walk through is not the end of you. It's refining you. The silence is not absence. It's preparation. Your weakness is not a curse. It's the reason you're chosen. And your future is not fragile. It is secured in hands far stronger than yours. Let faith rise where fear once lived. Let hope bloom where doubt once ruled. The story is not finished. The author is still writing, and what's ahead is greater than anything left behind.